Okay, so I had this opportunity to hear this guy speak. His name is Paul Pollock, and he's a pioneer in efforts for designing things for people in poverty. And he said something that, just one thing really that I remember, and one thing that stuck with me, and that's that 90% of the engineers design things for just 10% of the world's population. And at that point, I kind of said, I can refocus my efforts and have a bigger impact in the world. My mom taught me to pay attention to details. She used to drill this into me, pay attention to the details. And that has had a huge influence on me, kind of subconsciously. I found that that affects my creativity and it affects my ability to analyze things. And frankly, I think has resulted in a lot of good stuff. When I was in 4th grade, my dad challenged me to make a steam engine out of a can and some bent pipes, and I did that. And it really taught me that I could create things that seemed complicated. But the beauty here is that once you do that thing that was complicated, you realize there are other complicated things that you can do and now work on. And that's the process of discovery. The best thing about being a researcher is the willingness and freedom to ask questions, to ask why is it this way. And in addition to that, the ability and the diligence to put the right steps in process to try to answer those questions. Once a research question is established, a researcher has to have the diligence to not only look for what they want to see, because frankly, they'll only see what they want to see. And having that diligence is difficult, but without it, you can't be effective. One of the parts of the engineer's code is to always seek solutions that benefit society. And in the work that we do for poverty alleviation, it's apparent that it sounds obvious, but those who suffer from poverty because they don't have enough money. I know that sounds really simple, but it turns out a lot of people forget that. And when you remember that, it leads to the kinds of things that we're working on, which is that we're designing products that are income generating products, those that help people increase their income. And one of the reasons why we think this is so important is that we believe that when someone increases their income, this will lead to better water supplies. This will then lead to better food supplies. This will lead to better education, and that will lead to more wealth and more income. And so you get this cycle. And we think that income generating products, jumpstart that process. My thinking has been highly influenced by my PhD advisor, Achille Massac. He put a kind of formality around the discovery process I learned as a 4th grader of building steam engines. One thing I've come to realize over the years is that the formality is necessary to do great research. I think most people would be surprised, as I was surprised, at how few engineering efforts go into poverty alleviating activities. And the thing that I think is motivating about that is that the poverty in the world is one of our greatest challenges. And so we should put onto that project some of the best problem solvers. And that means engineers and scientists. A couple of years ago, my grandmother gave me a book that belonged to her father-in-law, my great-grandfather, and it was an engineering handbook. I didn't know he was an engineer, or what would have been the equivalent of an engineer at that period in the world's history. And this particular book has his name written in there. He wrote his name. It has annotations that he made, and pretty much it's the only thing I couldn't replace. Well, the Dave Matthews Band. It turns out when the Dave Matthews Band is on, my brain automatically switches to hard work, and I can get a lot done. I think this is neural connections that happen during grad school.